breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Glitterbois Radical.
Bassam and Cranny, don't listen to this one. It has some sad news at the very beginning.
We are coming into a very sad topic today. Now, of course, we're 22 years past this point. This was a sad point in the past, but now we are reliving that sadness with Rifter number 9. And the reason Rifter 9 is so sad is because this is where we are told in a really long and kind of heartfelt post from Kevin why Palladium decided to no longer move forward with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game license.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is not them losing the license. This is them deciding that, and he really goes into great detail on why, but I mean, them just deciding not to carry forward and why. I think we're probably going to talk mostly about that because that was the part, like there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but that was the part, like, as usual, it's the insight into the workings that I find really fascinating.
I tell you what, let's do something we don't normally do with Rifters.
Yeah.
Well, let's save this for the end of the episode discussion and move forward. Because honestly,
we'll just skip.
This Rifter doesn't have much going. It's got some stories. It's got, good old nights at the dinner table. It's got your coming attractions. It is talking about the onboarding of Bill Coffin as a full-time Palladium employee and simultaneous with the leaving of Mark Siembieda. Mm-hmm. We'll revisit this in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love this call out to Wayne Smith here, and on page 10 about the editor-in-chief not having fun because, well, all of this will come right back around full circle in Rifter in the next episode of the Rifter, which we get to shortly. Anyway, another sad bit here is to talk about the Other Side store here in Portland, Oregon. Once again, that store doesn't exist. That's so sad.
The building it's in barely exists, the Lloyd Center.
The Lloyd Center is a dying husk of a former retail center.
Okay, so seriously, though, we need to talk about the Lloyd Center as a live-action setting because apparently there are flooded caverns underneath it. There has been burned-out sections. There is still like a small mercantile thing, but it's this vast, empty mall. And there are things living in it. And there's been a disaster. I swear to God, we need to get some swords. And we need to go exploring.
Oh, man, yeah. I'm actually getting an idea here for like a one-shot adventure, or maybe a two-shot adventure, or it could even be a three-shot because part 1 and part 2 would combine in part 3, and it would be a group of LARPers who are like, laser gun kind of sci-fi LARPers, and then another group of LARPers that are like
sword and sorcery
LARPers, and they are completely separately run into each other in the middle of the Lloyd Center, and then in episode 3 they have to collectively save the world from an actual interdimensional evil.
Which is okay, so that's riffs right there.
Get a whole bunch of LARPers and throw them up against an evil.
Yeah, I like it. There's a new thing, which I don't know if it came off or not, but I do like the concept of shameless plugs. Where it's like, this is what everyone else is working on.
Yeah, I don't think this is a recurring
thing,
but it might come back every now and then.
Yeah. And then there's the Kevin's top 10 lists, which I liked as the coming of the new millennium. The top 10 lists that Palladium fans might enjoy. Here's interesting. At this time, this is just before. Rifter 9 is just before the year 2000. So this is what is the best-selling lines of all time. Riffs, number 1. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Number 3, Robotech. Number 4, Palladium Fantasy. Number 5, Heroes. Number 6, After the Bomb, which was then apparently a subline to Heroes Unlimited and not the...
Was initially a branch of
right?
TMNT, I think.
I thought so too.
And then it became its own game.
But I mean, this is Kevin writing it, so like I'm sure he knows.
Yeah.
Then Nightbane, Ninjas and Super Spies, Beyond the Supernatural, and I'm so sorry, Jacob. Recon came in dead last.
Yeah.
You know?
I think these are overall because he talks about Ninja Turtles a bit, which we'll get to. Yeah.
I also like that his guess, Kevin's guess at the all-time across all the companies best-selling RPGs of all time. And I'm going to go over this one too, because I think this is fascinating at the time. And I think it's fairly accurate. D&D, AD&D, of course, tops the list. That's the giant, the juggernaut.
Yep.
After that, Vampire the Masquerade, which interestingly enough is going through a renaissance right now, helped out by White Wolf and Alpha Busa, being kicked off not being kicked off, but running away from the dangers of the 40K franchise and doing all his fan base based off Vampire the Masquerade. And then number 3, Rifts. Number 4, Traveler. Number 5, Champions. Number 6, Call of Cthulhu. Number 7, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Number 8, GURPS. Number 9, Robotech. And number 10, RuneQuest. He makes an interesting thing in there that says Battletech is not going to count because it's not so much of a role-playing game. And at the time, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So before you light us up, yeah,
there was Mech Warrior, but it was nowhere near as cool of a RPG offering as it eventually would become. Yeah, it's mainly just tabletop tactics.
Yeah. And then there's a personal favorite RPGs to run, which is Palladium Fantasy, no surprise. We all know that's his favorite. Rifts, Heroes Unlimited, Robotech. I would have loved to have been in a Robotech game with Kevin. Like, oh my God. And Beyond the Supernatural.
Yep.
There's the answer of the age-old question of how to pronounce the Z-I-Tickix. Or Ixix.
See, I can't even remember what Sean said. I think it was Zytix.
Yeah.
What always throws me off when it's spelled this way, the Z-EYE, is it makes it sound like it's Z-I because it looks like it's 2 syllables, but it really
should be Z-E-E.
So that should be 1 syllable. So it should be Zy. So Zytix. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, in the coming attractions, talking about books coming up, we got Zedekic's Invasion, blah, 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 blah. I think almost all of this stuff happened, although I don't remember there ever being a Tribes of the Moon source book for Nightbane. I don't think that happened. We got the Siege on Tolkien, Free Quebec, all that stuff. Yeah. We're getting more into the more realistic outlook at their release schedule. Followed by Knights of the Dinner Table and the Murderous Turnips.
This one's bad. Like, this is like, I have the DM's back in a lot of this because Brian is like a horrible rules lawyer, like just horrible. And like, the pair are just, they're idiots. Dave and Bob, but he was a killer DM in this one. Like this was bad. He made a really bad call.
I get the feeling that he's just tired of their shit.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
This comic is about the dangers of making a one-off call in a group full of rules lawyers.
Yeah.
And having them use that against you ever after forward.
Long story short, someone gets killed by a thrown turnip from an orc child, and so they plant these magical turnips that can destroy worlds and cultivate them. Anyway.
Then we move on to Nightbane material. This is stuff that supplements, and, some of it may have been left out of the Nightbane book Between the Shadows. It was a good book. We haven't really delved much into it, but it goes into astral plane, and it also goes into like dream regions. This is just some interesting astral stuff. It would be difficult to talk about this stuff without the greater context of what that book puts forward as astral space.
Yeah, I would like to say, though, the concept of creating an astral domain that is your world to be molded at the cost of personal points of PvE or stolen blood magic points of PPE. It struck me as very fully Pose Farmer World of Tears, with these little godlings running around and creating each of their little worlds and then warring back and forth and invading back and forth, and to steal the ideas of the energies of creation. I could see an entire campaign focused around just one of these, either as the villain or as an NPC. I don't see this at all unless everyone is doing it as a PC.
The astral stuff in Nightbane is cool on its own.
Yeah.
I felt when I first read the book that this is all derived from, and I still feel now, after having reread that book a couple years ago for a campaign, the astral stuff is really cool, and I love everything about it. I don't feel that it makes sense in Nightbane, because Nightbane has a focus, and that is you turning into Nightbanes and fighting the creatures of shadow. And adding in yet one more realm of things that suck feels like, oh, come on, you're stacking on too much.
I feel like this is in direct response to Mage being released by White Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. This was there was late 99 when this was written.
Yeah, this was the great expansion from what was it? It was vampire, werewolf, and then they had mages, and then they had fairy, and then they had like all these different stuff come out. And I kind of feel like this was responding, because that was a huge trend at the time.
Yeah, it could be. I think if you're going to run a game involving the astral stuff and you really want to like dive into it, you should make it its own thing. Like, have everybody in some way involved with astral space, because there's a lot of astral OCCs in the book, in addition to the new stuff that they have in here. And just that one book alone, as with all of Nightbane, just that one book alone, Between the Shadows, can run you lifetimes of gaming because of the open-endedness of astral space. But it's also so weird. You got to be ready to go there.
I had a DM back in the day for second edition D&D that I just recently reconnected with, and she spent a lot of time going back and forth from the real to the she loved Planescape and going back and forth in that. And this has a very similar feel of just this vast space that's concurrent with our own, but separate, and very, not as a bad word, but lots of gatekeepers in the way. So
yeah, gatekeepers that'll attack you and you have to kill them.
Yeah. And then we beat up monkeys.
Yeah, we've got a continuation of the ongoing Machinations of Doom series from my favorite, Ramon Perez. I don't really feel like we should dive into this much. Same with the two stories that follow, which are continuations of Hammer of the Forge and Siege on Tolkien. I think the pieces should be viewed as a greater whole. And fortunately, I think all three of those were released separately as a greater whole piece. I'd
like to say, though, I really miss the concept of the serial in a pulp, where you get installment stories. That said, I think there's some real problems with this that happen only in serials and pulps, and that is each page gets to call itself a chapter, and I think that's just pretentious. You don't get 3 chapters in 3 pages. You just don't. Stop that. Bad.
Yeah, well, this whole thing is chapter 4, and this is several pages. So.
Oh, no. Which one is it? We'll get to it when we get to that part of it, but there's some more bioborgs.
I don't have much to say on it. Biowizardry was never my thing. So I read it and I'm like, okay, cool, neat. All right, move on. So if anybody else has feedback on them, share it.
It should be noted, though, that this is not optional. This is actually counts as official, whereas most of the Rifter counts as optional rules. So if you did have a kid in your group that was like, no, we're going to rules lawyer this. This actually should have been a part of Splendinek Dimensional Market in Rifts Atlantis. This was a part that was meant to be there, but was cut for constraints.
I mean, it's cool stuff. These things, I think, would make great enemies. I don't really
or
think any-
anti-hero. Like, I mean, you could.
Yeah. Again, the biowizardry and stuff, I never quite incorporated it. I know that everybody loves the Splugorth. I just never really bothered with them. It's funny because the Butts edition has the Splugorth Slaver and the Altera Warrior Women, and I've never once used either of those things in a campaign until a player once wanted to play an Altera Warrior Woman.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I ever have either. And honestly, I normally don't. Here's my thing is that humanity and I use humanity as most upright bipeds, has enough evil going on just, in your neighborhood before you get into the extra dimensional slave trading aliens.
Yeah. There's so many aspects of Rifts to involve, and I'm not going to tell anybody not to use the Splugorth. I did myself maybe I've just never gotten around to them.
and that's a thing. Like the world is so vast and so rich. Like you can have years of play and never get to some things.
Yep.
I really like the what is it? The sad Wolverine Cthulhu on page 60 with the hentai tentacles.
Yeah.
Tentai.
Sad Wolverine Cthulhu. Love it. After that, we have Hammer of the Forge continuation, chapter 9. And then we get to what I think you were talking about, which is the Siege of Tolkien, where basically every page is a chapter.
I just stop it. It's like page 36. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every page is a different chapter, and it's stop it. Just stop.
Yep. So following that, we have stuff from Arsno. Now, Arsno was eventually released as its own book in the Rifts World Book line, from written here by Jason Richards. Jason Richards we'll talk about him later, actually, because he did a game that was adjacent to Rifts called Breach World, which I can't wait to actually talk about. I love the game. Now, Arsno, most of the stuff was reprinted in Arsno. It's very interesting if you're looking for an alternate take on a vampire heavy setting. Because so the real short version, you've got the vampire kingdoms to the south, which everyone knows. They're literally called the vampire kingdoms. But then you've got Arsno, which has more subtle vampires.
It's halfway. It's the edges. It's the suburbs.
And there's vampire lords out there that are like planning to take over, but they're biding their time. They're playing a different game.
It also has like its own manufacturing and weapons base, like not to rival like Northern Gun or anything, but it's it's there. It's happening. Yeah.
So largely on these pages in this magazine, it details the city of Arsno and its defenders. It's kind of cool. So you can action.
This is the kind of stuff I live for, where it's just, and here is what's going on here. These are the people. This is the place. All it needs is a map.
Yep. This is what they think of each other. I mean, it has a list of places of note, but we got to wait until the actual book to get more details, like a map and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's something I was not very impressed by, and that was an article here, page 105, about weather.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've seen other weather tables. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen other Palladium weather tables. Maybe in another article, maybe later on. I don't know. I'm racking my brain to remember where, but I know I've seen significantly better weather rules than 2 random roll tables. This is...
Yeah, I mean, at least go for seasons.
This is... I'm sorry, Owen. Owen, I'm glad that you submitted this, but this is weak. There should be more here.
I would also like to say that you are... This was written for Heroes Unlimited, is what I believe he said about this one. But you are missing so much.
There's so much, yeah.
For riffs, like Reign of Frogs, I mean, like and that's where you start. That's a phenomena that has happened here on Earth. Is it has rained frogs? We're talking about rifts, okay? So,
but even just looking at, if we apply this to Heroes Unlimited, there's still nothing really weird about it. Like Heroes Unlimited is weird. There are superheroes, there are magicians, there are robots.
Yeah,
have a little bit more weirdness, Like,
yeah, it rains parts.
Yeah.
Like the metal bolts comes down from the sky.
Yeah.
I like the Scotland short story.
Yeah, it's pretty
by
cool.
Christopher Jones.
I wish we had seen more of Scotland in the England book,
Yeah. And I think it's because I was a huge fan of the old BBC Robin Hood. I'm talking the old one, not the recentish hipster one.
Yeah.
But the one with like Clannad way back in the day.
Oh, way back in the day,
Hearn was in that, and Hearn is in this, and that made me happy. Hearn the Hunter.
I love it because it's short.
Very.
I like really good short fiction that is a complete thing. But I also love, again, that it's a side story. It doesn't involve characters that we've seen and known and read about over and over. It's not another Aaron Tarn story. It's an interesting bit of side fiction in the Rifts setting. And I love that.
I do too. Hook, line, and sinkers, can always use those.
Yeah. It's for the Palladium fantasy stuff. There's some good ideas here. Now, the hook, line, and sinkers are like, here's the premise of the adventure. Here's how you get them involved. And here's where everything goes crazy. It's very basic stuff. I love it when they put these in. There's some good stuff here that you can actually make a good foundation for several campaigns.
Yeah. And that's about the end of the book. So why don't we go back to the beginning here and talk about the thingies?
Yep. Okay. Ninja Turtles. First off, let's look at that cover. Woo. We talked about that cover when we had Bassam and Craney on. Like, one, it's amazing. It is brilliant artwork, but the subject matter. They look like they're all struggling to drop a turd that's just like won't make it out of their clothing.
No. This is really, really high grade LSD and really, really, really high grade angel dust that got blown in their face by Space Krang. And then they had an orgy whereupon they all swapped either their weapons or their masks, because they're all wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they were attacked by tentacle monsters.
Yeah. Only one of them is right, and that's Raphael.
Yeah, Raphael. Yeah. Leonardo could be right because he's supposed to be blue and he's kind of purpley, but that's close.
Yeah.
Donatello has Michelangelo's colors. Michelangelo has Donatello's colors.
That's right. Michelangelo was orange. So yeah, Raphael is the only one who's right.
No, wait, it is the weapons. Look, because the guy on the top has the D on the belt.
Yeah. And
so that would be Donatello.
But it should be
he's holding the nunchucks. Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
This is
There's stuff happening. Drugs are involved.
Fucking Michelangelo's face. Just biting his lip.
We talk about you coined this great term, and I don't even think it was on the podcast. It was something else. It was the we were bitching about what was it? It's the other 3-5 Pathfinder. We were bitching about Pathfinder art, and you gave the term constipated leaping, I believe.
Yeah, constipated leaping. Yep.
This is totally constipated leaping, but it's brilliant at the same time. This is good constipated leaping.
There's another trend that back in the day, I even started a Google community on Google Groups about this trend, which is, I think, even more prevalent than constipated leaping. And that is 3 angry heroes brandishing weapons.
Yeah.
It is lazy fantasy RPG cover. There's 3 heroes standing, usually back to back, in the middle, in an angry looking action pose, holding a weapon forth. This is my weapon, and I am holding it forth against either an unseen foe that is surrounding them or a visible foe that's about to eat them.
Everyone is saying,
Yeah. Here, I am Action Man, and this is my weapon. I hate that so much.
Yeah.
I started just collecting images. Every time I saw one, I would post and write a little funny thing about it. This is a twist on that, and that they're not just standing there brandishing weapons. They're literally being murdered by tentacles.
Yeah.
So this one gets a pass for me, at least on that subject.
Mm-hmm.
The acid-fueled rage.
Personally, it's great art. Like if I had a quality blow up print of this, I would frame this and hang it on my wall. Like, this is first rate stuff.
Oh, goddamn, yes. If somebody has the original, contact me. I'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So let's talk about this. Every so often, you will get a real glimpse into the inner workings of Palladium, and thusly a lot of the workings of like small to mid-level game design at the time. And this is one of these great moments where they're talking about the difference between selling, how many copies you can sell, what's happening with the IP in the rest of the world. Because at this time, and this may be too late for people to remember, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the comic book, was gritty as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was bloody and nipply and dark, and like these are things that live in a sewer. You know, like it was, there was poop. You know? Like it wasn't, you know, haha, turtle power, and we have this cool van that throws pizzas, haha, and everyone's fine at the end of the episode, like the cartoon. It was brutal, and the Palladium version is based on that. It is not based off, you know, the silly kids. And they talk about how no one wanted to buy what was becoming kid stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it just wasn't cool.
How the cartoon
anymore.
had an adverse effect on the game's sales.
Yeah, and how like the wild success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles still to this day is still a huge IP. But how its success did kill its game. Just because there's, you know, no one in their late teens who really wants to, except for, you know, I mean, like I might actually, like I could do a cartoon thing, but it would be niche. Like, it would be a one book thing, you know, like you couldn't, it would be done.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So Ninja Turtles has a series of books for an RPG. Honestly, I don't think there's that much you can do. Unless you are, I don't know.
You could publish adventures. That's about it.
Yeah. This is a half-baked thought here. I'm sorry. It's licensed properties have this problem in that when somebody makes a game or a role-playing game or a video game or anything based on a licensed property, they are either constrained solely to certain things that appeared within certain scope of said property, or constrained by perceptions of said property. This is a case, I think, where Palladium was just given free reign to go ape shit wild and do whatever the hell they want, and they did, because the comics went ape shit wild and did all kind of crazy things. And you end up with wonderful books like Transdimensional TMNT and Truckin' Turtles and Roadhogs that eventually sort of get ported over because the subject matter is still worth exploring in their own house line after the bomb. But today, in today's market, I don't think they can get away with that. I don't think anybody could, because licensing in the role-playing game world has caught up to licensing and everything else. So it's all so strict. The scope of everything is 100% defined on paper, what you can and cannot use, where you can and cannot go, that if an official licensed TMNT game came out today, it would probably be by like fucking Hasbro or whoever toy company still owns it, and it would suck. It would be one book. It would be some soulless, written by a corporation game system, either D&D or Hasbro's new terrible game line that they used for Transformers and Power Rangers and G.I. Joe. Yeah. And it would ooze references to the show and to the comics, but it would never deviate beyond that. It would never.
Yeah.
There would be no soul to it. Like so many licensed properties today.
Are you saying that Hasbro ruins games? Are you saying like I shouldn't spend upwards of $1,000 to rebuy everything for for Dungeons and Dragons? What are you saying here?
Yes, I'm saying that. God damn it!
Absolutely, no, you shouldn't. God damn it, people, stop doing this. You are doing this by buying it. This is your fault.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a bit away, but I don't want to read it out loud because I think you should go and read this yourself.
It's available digitally and physically. Yeah.
Word for word, this is a fascinating article. And I needed to read this. I didn't know what had happened. And like, he talks about the successful mass marketing and why it made them so much money and how happy he was for them and how it just killed it. Because, once you're in a Happy Meal, that's just that.
I say the same thing about Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
Once you are to a point that there are cute Hello Kitty dolls made after you, you're no longer cool or scary.
And I think the people who buy the bobbleheads are like the Funkos, or you're not helping, guys.
You're really helping. Not. Yeah, you're just buying your childhood repackaged and resold to you. Yeah.
Except in something you can't play with.
Let me move mine away so they're not on the camera.
God damn it, Envy. Here's the thing. He talks some direct numbers. Like once the cartoon came out and it became kidified, as he calls it, that the sales plummeted from 4,000 copies a month to less than 100. Like it's literally that. So it's interesting that success can also equal failure in an IP. And if you haven't, if you weren't into comics at that time, we should say there was like, it references it in the article. There was Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse, I believe, were the only things going at the time. Like really, Image had just come out. That's right, with Spawn.
The Image came out a few years before that. They were in the mid 90s because I was a kid when I got the first issue of Spawn.
Okay,
yeah,
but yeah, there was like 4, but this was like this was 2 dudes, Eastman and Laird, and like this is what gave the impetus to independent comics. And it's so weird that while it gave the success to it and the willingness for people to give money to independent comics, it also very much killed itself. It ate its own tail.
Yep.
And it's still eating its own tail, and it's still selling and making movies. I mean, it's really an amazing thing when you look at it.
If you want to know more of a historical look behind what happened, where it all started and where it all went, I recommend going to Netflix, and they have a Netflix house series called The Toys That Made Us. And I believe it was in season 2 where they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a fantastic look into the history of how it all started. And it's also very entertaining. Mm-hmm. They know how to tell a good story with it. Also, Kevin Siembieda appears in that video talking about Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
That's really Rifter 9. Mm-hmm. We were going to do 9.5. But we both read it and we're like, oh, we have to go. There's more time we need to spend on that.
We need to spend more time. Rifter 9.5 is a world-changing event. It comes once an epoch. And I think in order for us to really, really do it justice, we each need to sit back and savor each word.
This is a couple. Yeah, this is a couple rereads to before I'm ready to bring that one up.
Yeah.
As for Rifter 9, though, not to get too far ahead, I think it is something you should have on your shelf. It's another glimpse inside. It has some fantastic art, and I really think you need to read that article. Like everyone who has any fascination with this period, and if you're listening to our niche podcast about a niche time in role playing, I think you have that interest, and you should see if you can get your hands on this.
My thoughts on that topic would be yes, if you are interested in the history and if you want an insight into, how things went down, then go get a physical copy of Rifter 9 if you can, put it on your shelf. If you just want to read the article just to know, then go buy a digital copy and then read it. However, if all you're interested is in the content of the magazine and you just want some cool gaming stuff, really, this is a Nightbane heavy issue. It's got a lot there. If you want the astral plane, it's very specific. And if you want some good Palladium fantasy ideas, there's some good stuff there too. And you liked Splend Dimensional Market and you want more of that, come here. However, if you're a Ninjas and Super Spies person, if you're into Heroes Unlimited, if you're into the newer things like Dead Brain or the complete role-playing game known as Chaos Earth, if any of these things are your jam, that's probably not the magazine issue for you.
Well, I would say that I can't think of a system where the astral stuff won't work. Like that would work in Heroes, that would work in Palladium Fantasy, that works in Rifts. Like I think that's a good, and it's like 10, 12, maybe 15 pages. Like there's a lot of it.
Oh, and that actually, I was just about to be like, no, maybe not. But no, actually, you're right. Because it got me thinking, I, in addition to being a Palladium gamer, am a longtime Shadowrun gamer. I have both 2nd and 4th editions almost memorized. Shadowrun was my other go-to game for a long time. Shadowrun mages can go into the astral plane and do astral things. And it's boring as fuck. All it is like an overlay to reality. So players, dear listeners, if you're coming at this from the perspective of the astral plane being anything like it is in Shadowrun, you're like, man, yeah, the astral stuff isn't that cool. It's nothing like in Shadowrun. It is acid-laden realms of alternate existence. So if that interests you, then yes, get this book.
You see, I am a sick fuck and I read sick fuck sci-fi. So when they're talking about how the realm dies when the creator dies, like how it begins to fade and like crumble and like slowly decay, I started thinking of my Minecraft experiences with something called a grinder. And basically where that is like it's a spawn and a killing machine, and then you pick up the stuff at the bottom. And so you can like keep your astral plane together with blood magic is a thing with ISP. So all you need to do is create an astral plane with an indigenous population that kind of dies in such a way that you can harvest their ISP, and then it's eternal, and it's an engine of creation and death and wonder, and it's just really cool.
You just got my brain spinning.
This is what I do. It's why you keep me on the podcast.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you very much. You just got my brain spinning. Now I'm getting ideas here, and I'm going to name some source material that you, dear listener, might also get some ideas from if you want to run something similar to that or astrally. I should save this for the Nightbane episode when we talk about that book, but I'm not going. I'm going to do it now. Boom, dropping some inspiration bombs here. Check out a movie called Existence. It's like existence, but it's Existence. It ends with a Z. It's got Jude Law and I forget who else. It is this reality shifting, hopping story that you never know what's real and what's not, and it's constantly moving through different versions. Check out the TV show Sliders. Sliders is a serialized, somewhat less stressful version of the same thing. But also check out the movie The Cell.
Oh, yeah.
The Cell is 100% some astral space kind of stuff. Very similar to what Palladium's got going on here with the astral realms. Any kind of story that you can find where people are moving between alternate versions. Oh, my God. Fucking the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio movie, where no one knew if it was ending properly.
Blom.
Yeah, the Blob movie. What was that? What was it called?
I don't know. I never saw it. I just know the wall.
Oh yeah, so it's on the tip of my tongue. I forget the name of that movie, but the movie with the spinning ring, yeah, that, or the spinning coin or whatever. But also a Palladium adjacent product, Amber.
Oh yes. By Roger Zelazny. Read the books. Don't bother with anything else. Just read the books.
Palladium has, and if you ask nicely and you say in your Christmas package, I want something weird, as our dear listener and friend and former guest Brandon can attest, they have a book, a collection of stories and inspirations from Amber. 100% astral plane stuff right there. So yeah, go for it.
I'm just going to add one last plug to that, because most of mine comes from like literature. And mine is, guys, like he's dead now. He can't hurt you anymore. Go read Philippe Jose Farmer, The World of Tears. Everyone's read The Fabulous Riverboat, the one where they go when they die. Don't read that. Go read The World of Tears. They have great old Boris Vallejo covers. They are amazing. It is an amazing series of books. And even in the last one, Red Orc's Rage, it references what is coming into play right now. D&D as therapy, like role-playing games as therapy. And this was written late 70s, early 80s. Like, he has always been an amazing author. And while To Your Scattered Bodies Go and The Fabulous Riverboat are an amazing series, The World of Tears, and that's tears as in a stack, not crying, is the most amazing piece of sci-fi. And I read it too young because it's kind of smutty. And it had a huge impact on my imagination, and I cannot highly recommend it enough, especially if you are interested in pocket universes and the horrible things that keep them running.
What's real funny is that you said The World of Tears multiple times before you even went on that little diatribe there, and each time you said it, the word tear in my brain was spelled Tyr, like the Norse god. So I'm just picturing a whole lot of one-armed Norse gods in a world. No. Yes, that sounds awesome.
Oh, it's really good, you guys. You need to. Oh my God, we're almost at an hour. Okay, so anyway, everyone, this was the longest Rifter ever, but that's because it's a really good one.
It is, yeah. And the more we talk about it now, the more I want to go reread it again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Get Rifter 9.
Excellent. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you on the next one.
Starships, magic, mystic martial arts, romance. All of these can be found in A Cloak of Blades by Isaac Scher. You might have heard my name before. I've done a lot of voiceover work for Breakfast Puppies. And I've recently released my first novel. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback, and you can get it for free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I do hope you'll support my work as you're supporting Breakfast Puppies, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Have a good one.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons Zero license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterbois. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.